in my life. Bye for now.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good to see so many of you are here. We are scheduled to be together for the next 60 minutes or so. We're looking at the subject of BD. There are three other people who are here alongside me. My role as the facilitator of this is to squeeze some interesting answers out of Michelle and Stu and Liz, and to share my own take on some of the things that perhaps they're sharing about how to be able to ensure that you don't fall victim to being the average business developer, and how to start to step up whatever that activity looks like so that you can start to engage with more clients in better quality conversations and start to build a pipeline of business. So we have Liz, we have Stu, we have Michelle. I'll turn to all three of you in a moment. It would be nice if you could give a little introduction, perhaps a 30-second snapshot as to who you are and where you feel you bring an angle to share in terms of expertise or previous experience. Is that okay?
All good.
Goody, goody. So, Stu, could I talk to you first? Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, I'm Stu. I've spent the last 4 years doing nothing but learning and development and coaching at desk with recruiters of every level. I long-term partner with businesses to help their people over a consistent period, and also I do virtual mentoring as well for recruiters and also solos. So it's every day. I'm on site Monday to Wednesday, Thursdays and Fridays. I'm mentoring. So my whole week is trying to do this sort of stuff.
Nice. And how much of your time is BD orientated at the moment, would you say?
A lot of it. Well, most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, isn't it? So it's a consistent
Mm.
challenge. It's at least half of a 360 job
Yeah.
of doing some sort of proactive BD. So yeah, I've just come off two mentor calls this morning. Both were discussing that as well and thinking
Okay.
about strategy for this year. So yeah, it's a lot of what I talk about.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Michelle?
Hi. Most of you will probably know me as a coach slash breathwork instructor. So I do work with leaders all around sort of business and life coaching and holding them accountable to moving knowledge to action. But really today I want to bring my experience of being a solo recruitment owner myself, which I did for about 8 or 9 years. And I had a very different take on how to do BD. So I'm hoping to come at this from a slightly different angle today and maybe bring something that people may not have thought of or had thought of, but have sort of fallen out of the habit of doing sort of post-COVID.
Cool. Thank you very much. And Liz, hello.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Liz Harris. And like Stu and Michelle, I've spent a lot of my career in learning and development, so leadership, influencing, and presentations. So I work with sales and sales managers and helping them to get the best from their teams. But I've come to team with my hat on, which is candidate coaching. So because of the work I do in presentations, I've specialized for the last 9 or 10 years in terms of coaching candidates at interview. So I help recruiters increase their fill rates by coaching their candidates, their shortlisted candidates, to perform better at interview. So there's kind of a two-pronged attack there. So I help coaches and I help sales managers as well.
Hey, very nice. Thank you very much. So in terms of today's session, we're talking about BD. My take on this is very few people in recruitment have a challenge revolving around BD knowledge. It's the transfer of knowledge into consistent activity or to consistent behavior. I think everyone who's online, if we gave you the GCSE examination and what does good BD look like, most of you would be rocking at least a B. Or maybe I need to get more modern. It would be like an 8 or a 9, right? We got rid of the letters, didn't we? But if you would score an 8 or a 9 in the GCSE, if it was the NVQ and it started to become the practical demonstration of the knowledge you've got, that's where things start to get a little bit ropey. So perhaps what we have is much more of a need to think about the standards we set for ourselves and the accountability that we create for the standards that we've set. Because if we know what we should be doing, we know what we could be doing, the only thing that stops us from doing what we know and what we should be doing is us. So as long as everyone's happy with how I'm describing that, I'd like to ask all three of you, from your perspective, where do you believe standards break down within business development, and where is there a lack of accountability to be able to reinforce them? And given the description of what you do, Stu, do you mind if I start with you? Because you're sat next to people every day, right?
Damn it. Yeah, I think from a leadership point of view, it can be quite challenging to know what standards to set in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be speak to X amount of hiring managers.
Yeah.
But you can speak to hiring managers and get nothing from it, depending on how you're going about that call. So I think it can be really challenging from a leadership point of view. And then it becomes that you become the nag. And I've watched people do it for the sake of doing it, and they almost get through to a hiring manager and go, "Yeah, I'm through. Phew, better finish this call now." Tick, and they want to get through 30 of those, and that could be quite. So I think it's hard to drive those standards from a leadership point of view. So that's partly where they break down, because it's quite one-dimensional, and it's about how many jobs you've got and things like that. So I think that's one part of it. When it comes to the individual, I think a lot of it can be down to, as you mentioned, the confidence that's built around BD and how you transform from I know what BD looks like, but actually doing it, and consistently doing it and believing in it. So I think from where they tend to break down accountability is, number one, are we clear on what good looks like? And then are we then taking the time to enforce it and hold people accountable to what we believe good looks like, rather than let's just chalk a number up and see if that's BD.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Liz, listening to what Stu's saying, what do you think is sometimes the internal dialogue that a manager may have that stops them from stepping forward and creating that level of accountability in a team?
That's a really interesting question, and I believe that the vast majority, maybe not 100%, but the vast majority of people in a sales management capacity don't wake up in the morning and think, today I'm going to lower the bar or I'm going to diminish my team.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it comes from a good place, they end up doing that. So they might say, right, come on, everyone on the phones, it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? Clients don't bite, JFDI, all of these things that come from a good place actually end up creating more fear in the BD, arena. And also thinking about, they don't get it. They don't understand the challenge. They don't realize, what the market's like, and how uncomfortable it is to get rejection after rejection.
Yes.
So it's kind of that funny catch-22 in terms of they want to help and support, but ironically they're kind of lowering the bar or diminishing the behaviours.
Yeah. And then if Stu's talking about what he sees as lived experience with practitioners, Liz is talking about perhaps the leadership thought process. Michelle, what about that conflict where we've got perhaps someone who is a solopreneur, and they are both the manager and the practitioner, and almost in conflict with themselves because they know what they should be doing, could be doing,
And I think the first question, and whether this is for solos or for people who are leading businesses, it's kind of the same. Maybe people who have been in recruitment a long time, is I think the first question is, do they actually know what they should or could be doing? Or sort of, certainly in my case, I started in recruitment in 97, and what you did when you picked up in sort of the phone back then is very different to now. So sometimes when I'm coaching people, you can see they don't even really know where to start, and whether that's for themselves or whether that's guiding the people that they're working with. But assuming that there is a knowledge of what's the best opener on the phone, or what's the best title on an email, or whatever the sort of method of BD that they're going to be using. I think the first thing is definitely that belief. If you're telling yourself that this call isn't going to go well, or you're telling yourself that they're going to be rude, they're not going to want to talk to me, then you're going to feel demotivated, and you're probably going to make a bit of a unhelpful call. So it all starts with the mindset piece of that belief that every time you pick up the call, you might not get a job, no problem, but you're going to get a piece of information that you can then use, whether that's to make your next call, whether that's to follow up with that particular manager. So, not necessarily having to be the win of brilliant. To be honest, I think we talked about this in the prep when we were talking previous. If you get a job on that call, then probably it's not a great job, or wow, your timing was just absolutely impeccable. So it's flipping what it is that you're trying to get out of that conversation and believing that it's always worthwhile.
Yeah, and that mindset really shifts, doesn't it? Because then you're less anxious about the results and you can focus on simply the work of talking to somebody, right? And that's really what we ask people to do. Just go have a conversation with somebody rather than go pull a job.
Yeah.
Like go pull a job sounds helpful, but it overloads the pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely.
I like the fact you're talking about the phone. The phone's such a great tool, isn't it? But we've seen this acceleration of technology. For all of you, I don't mind who wants to answer first. Where do you feel technology is now helping, and where do you feel technology might be hindering good quality business development practice?
Can I start with a bit of a controversial view before maybe the others go into knowing potentially a bit more about what the tech is? Is that I built my whole recruitment business without using the phone. And that's not to say you shouldn't be using the phone, particularly if you're not based in the geography that you recruit. I was in London, I recruited in London. So I think for people who are completely overwhelmed, or you've got sort of younger generations in your business that maybe don't want to pick the phone, there are other ways of doing it, but absolutely using the tech and getting the knowledge from the others of what the tech is. But there is also ways of doing it if that it's about not letting things it be a blocker. If you've got a blocker about the phone, let's try and solve that problem, obviously. But
what was your preferred route to market then?
And mine goes all the route of Andy Dunn that he talked about at Rec Expo. I basically networked. Every .NET developer in London knew who I was, and that meant that they were all out there working in all of their businesses that they worked in. And the minute that their boss said, "Oh, we need to do some hiring," anyone got any suggestions, it was my name. So I basically was just getting clients and big brands, the Financial Times, Moonpig. They were calling me, and then whatever I wanted, you will be on exclusive. You will give me an email address. You will let me in your office. They would just say yes to everything because they wanted to come to me. So I appreciate that was very possible because I lived in the geography I was hiring. But maybe it's just
That was going out physically, right?
yeah, I would be hosting meetup events. I would be getting to know all of the developers, just chatting, just being a nice person, buying the beers. They like that. And they just then all knew who I was. And it was brilliant because I would just
Nice.
get head of engineering saying, Michelle, one of our developers has just given me your name. So I think that we need the phone, but we also, let's not forget the sort of the in-person, the connection, which is why Team Network is so good. We do it amongst this network. Why are we not using that maybe for what we could be doing to build our clients as well? But that's completely off tangent, not talking.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It just makes me think, like, if you think about tools, technology, go-to-market strategies, they're all like top trump cards. Face-to-face beats phone call beats email, and it's just that it's the proximity to the human that actually we're talking about here, rather than one is better than the other. It's we're a human driven business that should embrace the human aspect. Liz, sorry.
No, sorry, Jeremy, but just, I think Michelle absolutely perfectly depicts a couple of phrases that that I have lived and died by. So first one is people buy people first. So it's not just people buy people, but they buy, you have to make a connection. You have to get that rapport first. And then people buy from people they like. So Michelle's perfectly depicted both of those, that actually it's about making a connection, building that rapport before you even go anywhere near saying, have you got any jobs? Or, can I come and do have a call with you, come and do a demo.
Yes.
It is really, really important. But
Yes.
but thinking about the phone and fear of the phone, in my first sales job, we had a sales BD session at 11 o'clock every morning, and I used to dread it. The first time I ever did that, I thought, oh, I need some help. And so I thought I'll go to the best salesperson on the floor. And he was a guy called Tony Hill. And he used to just sell at, miles more than anyone else. And I went up to him and I said, Tony, I'm doing my first BD session this morning. What did you say to your first ever client when you picked up the phone? And he said, I'll tell you what I said, Liz. He said, I said, hello. And it was just brilliant because it's terrifying to everybody. But the knowing and doing piece that you said is also really important. You just know what to do, but keep doing it. Absolutely. Yeah. Just have the courage to keep doing it.
Yeah. And the confidence comes from the do rather than the no. Stu, thoughts on tech?
When I'm on sales floors, I'm pretty anti-AI. And I know you did some AI work, which is actually really good because it's almost away from the sales floor. But I don't like mailers. I don't like a cadence that's built by AI. I'm like you've all mentioned, human first. So I think tech should be used to help us get telephone numbers. I'd rather spend my money on tech that gives me some touch points rather than tech that means I message someone. I don't like LinkedIn Recruiter. I think it's bad for BD. I think people ignore it more. So I think tech should be used to help us map. I think it's brilliant for that. And certainly from a solo point of view, we don't have a lot of time, or you're trying to build a CRM while you're trying to manage a business and things like that. I think using tech to try and help you map and understand the market quite quickly is great. But the legwork of picking up the phone to it and speaking to people, and even as Michelle said, building BD around talent first sometimes is really, really important, and how I teach it on sales floors. So
yeah. I'm totally with you. I think it's important that people understand, if you want to have a conversation with somebody, the shortest route to have a conversation is to make a conversation, not send a message to then follow it up with a permission request to then share something of value to then say, what about now? If you want to
and those touch points have value, don't they? Different passive
yeah.
touch points are great. I love that.
Yeah.
But trying to get your personality across is a lot easier once you speak to somebody. And I know it's hard work, and sometimes you have to almost earn the right to speak to somebody by putting in the legwork. So
yeah. And my observation is I sometimes see that technology is being used to remove the pressure from people to need to do the consistent BD activity. And then that makes the BD activity even more difficult because I'm now doing it inconsistently. And even the tech is struggling to do what I need to do. So it double layers the pressure on us.
And the tech can sometimes then replace the repetition. And the repetition is the discipline that builds your confidence. Exactly. And you have to mess up sometimes. That's how you learn. And then so you can replace that. Yeah. So
Well, look, let's move this forward. Let's look at things which are actually at a desk level, the more practical aspects of things. So we'll move away from the theories and the meta conversation. What does busy BD look like that doesn't necessarily produce results? The things that people do that they convince themselves was BD today that probably wasn't. Make sense? Stu, you're super nodding.
Yeah, I just see it a lot that I've done my BD. That sentence. So I've done it, but I've done my BD. Yeah. I've seen businesses that will do 10 in-mails in the morning and call it BD. I see I've spoke to 30 hiring managers this week. Yay. But I don't remember any of them, and I maybe didn't make any notes about them, and I didn't make a note ready for the next call, and I just see a lot of that busy BD of I'm doing it to do it, rather than the mindset of I'm really trying to find out things about the industry I'm in. And I think that's the big difference is when I see that. So busy BD, I see people that are willing to do so many calls, certainly when they're new to recruitment. And it's almost a shame that they think just getting through is the only win, and they're like, yeah, great tick. But actually sometimes it's just making the call. And then when you do get through, it's just trying to get these 2 or 3 bits of information that could be brilliant for the next call. but we're sometimes just trying to do so much in the first call. Oh, I must win a job. And nobody likes needy, do they? So
Yeah,
so they all
cool.
back off from needy.
Yeah. Neediness is creepiness, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's not nice though, is it? When someone's all needy, you're like, ugh. And yeah, it really doesn't help. And almost the ability of, I almost ban the word recruitment when people are making these calls. Like, it's now we've ruined it a bit. So please, let's go to market a bit differently. And if we
Yeah.
are speaking to people, let's ask really cool questions. So
I'm really proud of the fact I work in recruitment.
me too.
There's no embarrassment about what
It's
I
given me a
do for a
brilliant
living.
life. Yeah.
It's the perceptions that people have. I think often when people get rejected in
Yeah.
a sales call, it's not the person who got rejected, it is the
No.
perception of what you do
It's
that got
recruitment.
rejected.
Yeah. I
Right.
agree.
So we need to be smarter about how we position ourselves so that we don't get rejected with the rest of the masses.
Yeah. And trying to just step away from I've done BD. It should be everything, non-stop on every call, like Michelle said. It's when you speak to candidates,
When you're
it's
walking down the street,
constant.
you could be doing
Yeah,
BD.
it's
You've
everything.
got your
So you
eyes
haven't done
open, that's
it.
BD.
You've not done it. You've
No.
never done it. So
Yes.
so yeah, I think that's the big challenge.
Michelle, Liz, what are your thoughts on this?
You've just given me all I could think about is people who go, yeah, went to the gym this morning, and you're like, what did you actually do? Did you just sit there and like scroll or sort of take pictures of yourself and filter them and leave? Like you can't just sort of go, we've done it. Like you said, it's all the time everywhere. The first time I hosted a meetup event, I put job specs on every seat, and at the end of it, there was job specs on every seat, and I was like, oh. And what I realized was put a great speaker in front of the person, be the decent person, not necessarily what people think the sort of view of recruiters is, but be the partner to people, be helpful even if you may not immediately be making money. I didn't do contract, I did perm, but I would still help. If a contractor wanted advice, I will still help because he's going to then go and get a job somewhere. So absolutely. What's an interesting conversation? Like think about yourself. And I always think this often is that if someone was phoning me, there's a big difference. If someone's like, Michelle, you got any jobs or do you want a job? Not interested. Whereas it was like, Michelle, actually, I've just been on LinkedIn, your post about key fobs, and I've got an Apple tag on my keys, and it really helps. And any other ideas I can pick your brain with, and I'll probably give them some time. And by the end of it, I'm going to be much more likely to then go, okay, I actually know someone who's hiring or I'm hiring. Or so, how do you build that rapport that sort of isn't just either, hey, I've got 20 years in the industry, so I know what I'm talking about, but actually building this relationship with people so that they want to work with you. We've talked about this before, like good people know good people. So every conversation, as Stu said, is a BD one, no matter whether it's client, candidate, whether it is you're down the sort of the play centre with the kids and you're chatting to someone next to you. My mum did it in the Marks and Spencer's cafe this morning. Talked before about how great my mum is at BD. I'm getting the teas in. I turn around, she's chatting to someone. By the end of it, this person's got my mum's brochure on a hotel. Everyone is a possible client,
Cool.
so
Yeah,
always
nice.
be
Always be doing BD.
always.
Yes.
Love
Liz?
your mum, Michelle.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about the funnel versus the flywheel. So
Yeah.
the funnel, if everything that you're getting, you get that job, you make that placement, but you start again. So everything's coming out of the bottom of the funnel, versus the flywheel, which everything is that virtual gets the impetus. Exactly what Michelle's just talking about. It's rather than right, I've done that and I've got to start all over again, find a new opportunity, make a new placement. So I think it really is about, and like Stu was saying, you don't just do BD and it's not just done. It's all about working what you've got to get that momentum and continuity. Does that make sense? Just the visual of that funnel where everything's just falling out the bottom and you think, oh my, it's gone. I made that placement, but I'm not getting any benefit from it in terms of using it as a marketing opportunity, a conversation starter, opposed to, so I think it's a bit
Yeah, yeah,
about seeing
agree.
everything as a cycle rather than the funnel.
Otherwise,
spoke to-
you get that, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I've done some deals, I've done no deals. You've got
Mm.
that spiral. I asked a client to send me a list of all the companies that he'd hired with in the last year, and basically there was very little repeat business in there. So he's constantly going out and chasing new. It's like, well, why are you not building a relationship with the clients that you've already got? So that funnel is constantly being fed, rather than I've put a bit in, it's all hopefully placed, but now I've got to start again. So that builds a consistency, doesn't it?
So let's get a bit grittier to help people. Let's think about funnels, think about flywheels. I hope everyone's happy with the difference between a funnel and a flywheel, right? Flywheels have momentum. You do a placement in a pharmaceutical business because you placed a financial accountant. Find 5 other pharmaceutical businesses that have an accounts department because you've got some recyclable candidates, you've got a story to tell. That's a flywheel. And if anyone online did a placement yesterday, today you build the flywheel so that next week you do the BD. If anyone did a placement in December and you haven't built the flywheel yet, it's not too late. And in most industries, you should be able to identify 20 companies that are of close proximity to the one that you did your placement with, and then you've got momentum. And momentum starts things moving, right? So if you want to get your BD moving, review your past. Find 3 stories that you could go out and talk about with passion. People would much rather hear the story of the impact you had on a hiring manager than how many years you've been trading and how many squillions of candidates you've got that ignore you on your database. So the flywheel's great, and then the funnel. It's how we go about like finding the right prospects and the leads to start to feed into it. So what advice would you 3 give to people about creating momentum in a flywheel or loading more at the top of a funnel? Make sense? We've gone off script here.
I think with the flywheel, I think it depends. We've talked a lot before at different webinars about generalist versus niche. Obviously, if you work in a niche space, I only worked with startup businesses that use .NET as their main programming language, which made it really easy because, like you said, I had a selection of candidates. I ran the .NET user group. I was talking to all of the people as they were moving around. Obviously, if you're more of a generalist, but that's about geography rather than sort of industry specific, then it's going, okay, how are you looking at the geographies? And if someone lives here and there's a business 5 streets away from them, let's try and get them in that business because everyone is going to prefer not a big commute. So being smart about your market and how you make sure you're getting that flywheel, but not just going, oh, brilliant, done a deal. Now I'm going to start all over again. You're like, how can you get 5 deals off the back of 1 deal?
Stu?
Yeah, I reference calls this morning. I've done 2 mentor calls this morning to solos, and we've actually reduced their market for proactive attack. So I say proactive reactive. So from a proactive BD point of view, we've actually narrowed their market, made it more manageable, less daunting. And actually the first step to BD is that they're going to start speaking to people in that finite part of the market from a talent perspective and start seeing movement. So the more you're in a market, the more you can see movement, and movement's recruitment.
Yes.
So we can get so caught up with trying to fill a job, we forget that there's lots of movement when that's happening. So leads from candidates, seeing what's happening in the market. I sometimes think we get caught up in thinking BD is Googling what jobs are there and then ringing them. And I would already say you're a bit late.
Yeah.
So, there's nothing better than coming off the phone from a candidate, ringing a hiring manager and say, I've just spoke to somebody at your business. I know you're recruiting. I've got more information than you. So we've got a different conversation to have. Feel stronger and more confident than having to ring up and say, can I recruit for you? So go on, sorry.
I was just going to say that everything that you're saying there, because there are so many people who are trying to do BD, standing out has got to be a behavior thing, not a word on a website thing, right?
It is, yeah. It is. You've got to be in the market more. That's how you're better, though.
And
you're better because
you to talk to you.
Yeah.
People
and you add value,
you
and then you add value because you're in the market. Like, so it keeps going. It's fun. You can actually enjoy BD. I do believe you can enjoy it.
Me too. You turn it into
But
a
you've got to
game.
be, and you've got to be in it, and you've got to really be passionate about it. If it's a chore, you've lost.
Yes.
Oh.
Because I'm just clocking some of the things in the chat, right? There's this perception that we sometimes get treated like second-class citizens or just another sales call, and that's going to happen if we're doing just another sales call.
Yeah.
If we're turning up with something meaningful, if we're turning up with something that's on the back of a flywheel, if we're turning up with something which is based upon a piece of discovery or insight or content that may help that person to feel more informed, that's got value. That's no longer. And those are the calls which end with, "I'm so glad you called.
Yeah.
I appreciate the last couple of
Yeah.
minutes."
I think if we see ourselves as valuable because we send some CVs, I mean, come on. Like, so, if I said to a chap this morning, why don't let's start ringing hiring managers about their employee value proposition.
Mhm.
That's our job. Our job is to help people on board, retain,
Yes.
training. Like, hence why in the name of my company, like, we're supposed to let people understand how to recruit, not just send them CVs. Like,
Exactly.
it's just a bit more evolved, and it will actually mean they start asking you things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which
And
is
those
easier.
are, I think we would call those buying signals. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's what they call it.
Liz, before I come to you, just triggered in my brain with what Stu's saying. There's been this thing in recruitment that has probably been around since the Druids recruited the workers to put up Stonehenge, which was called a salary survey. And the beauty of a salary survey, right? And there was a time when people would go, "Ooh, you've got a salary survey." And today, oh, it's the 33rd salary survey that I've been offered this week. Sorry, salary survey people. When you picture what value is, it has to be the audience's definition of value, not what you've always done that in the past has proved to be of value, right? I think a good salary survey is a thing of beauty. I think calling it a salary survey today may squish it dead.
I agree.
I think I would prefer to call it, "This is our retention guide." And it could still be a salary survey inside, but it now has a form and function which is different as to how it gets consumed. Does that make sense? So we need to turn up with value. We also need to turn up with value that is packaged in a way that the other person enters a state of curiosity because they can perceive the value rather than the sameness. Hey, Liz, did you have more to add? You started the conversation about flywheels and funnels.
Yes, I did. One of the things I was thinking is that there's that lovely phrase about a client is only a client when they have a moment to defect or to change supplier and they choose not to. That makes sense. So that whole kind of, are they really a client because you've had one placement and you've been successful with them once, and then someone else has called them up with another proposition and they've gone off chasing the next best thing. So thinking about, have I done enough for that client? If they got a call from someone else, they say, no, actually, I work with Stu, or I work with Les Ellison, or I work with Ewan Alcorn, and I'm really happy with the service I'm getting. So it's thinking about, are they really a client until they have that moment to decide whether they're staying with you or not.
Yeah.
Another thing that occurred to me, Stu, you said about, was it you who said about Recruiter, LinkedIn Recruiter?
Yeah, it was me. It's an unpopular opinion, but it was me.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the intelligence it gets you. So if you do have the opportunity to recruit for someone and you look and you can see that 43% of their employees are open to work, that gives you intelligence, doesn't it? That helps you go, wonder. So from my perspective as a leadership coach, that would really send alarm bells, and I'd really want to help them understand. So why are you recruiting? And they've got the funnel, they're leaving, and then they're re-recruiting. So what can you do to work with them to help that retention within the business? Because that's a hugely expensive exercise. It just struck me. I don't know what you think about that.
I think we're back to a reframe as to what our job is, right? There is an opportunity
Yep.
for us to be recruitment and retention and create stickier placements rather than fast and loose. Get job, fill job, person leaves 6 months later, get job again, refill, and the cycle that clients find themselves in that drives them to have conversations, particularly with sole traders, where they feel they can dictate the pricing.
Yep.
Because of their experience elsewhere. And if they feel they dictate the pricing because of their perception of value that revolves around people sticking around, they say it's 15% and I need a 16-week rebate period. They're creating a solution to a symptom, not fixing the problem. And good BD, I feel, it is a force for good. We help people to find the real problem rather than band-aid symptoms with solutions that they've designed that they think are fit for purpose, because all agencies are the same.
Yeah. And sometimes it helps to know what you don't do, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you know when to turn them away, or you
Yes.
don't know, because then it defines you going to market better. So your message is clearer. But if you just if you won't say no to a job, then that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So but I understand it, but that's part of the journey. But yes, it can be challenging.
6 hours working on an unfillable job is 6 hours you
Mate.
never get back.
Yeah, it's a killer.
6 hours spent looking for a fillable job is 6 hours that you'll be glad that you invested.
Yeah.
And both can only be reviewed in hindsight. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to recruit for the FT, and I was working my own business, but I was in their office. I had an FT email address. I had all of the tech stuff on exclusive. And after 9 months of doing that, I walked away from it because I was just like, this is just taking too much of my time. They're too picky. They're not listening. Their process is just too complicated. They want things that don't exist. And I walked away because I was like, it's ridiculous. I'm taking so much of my time. And then I went away and picked up other clients, and suddenly I was making so much more money. And people were thinking I was mad. Why would I, as a solo owner, walk away from that opportunity? No, you have to value your time. And I know Simon had said in the chat about sort of how do you, when you're juggling everything, and you have to value your time, and don't give it to people that aren't going to respect it and just treat you like that sort of muck on their shoe recruiter, instead of, no, you're a business partner. And the most challenging that any company has, their biggest problem is their people. And if you're the person that can help them scale with the right people that are going to stay, then ultimately you're key to their business success, and they should treat you in that way. But you have to believe that mindset is a story you tell yourself. If you're not believing that you are that person and you are that important to their business, then why should they believe it? So it starts with self-belief, self-worth, and self-trust, where you trust yourself to be able to deliver more than, okay, well, here's just sort of a computer futures. It was a bit like throw enough shit and see what sticks. No, this isn't about that anymore. This is about making your life easy with recurring business, with brands that people want to work for. And suddenly you're just watching the deals come in. I was doing up to 20 deals a month as a solo. It's bonkers. I look back, I had no database. I used a spreadsheet. But why? Because everything was just so finely tuned and every minute was used in the right way. And if you're wasting my time, I'm not interested. So respect your time, and therefore other people will respect it.
Can I ask you to repeat how you started that whole thing, please? Because I thought it was really powerful and I don't want people to lose it. Your mindset
Is the story you tell yourself.
that
Which means changing mindset. People think it's really hard to change your mindset. If you see it as it's a story, we are storytellers. That is what recruiters do. We tell stories all day about why you should work with us, why you should hire the candidate. So tell yourself a better story, that you are a brilliant recruiter and they deserve to work with you. Like, I always imagine Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is walking into that ring thinking that he was the best. No one else was going to be better than him. And what makes the world's top athletes like that? Because they truly believe, they've got the swagger, they've got the I'm the best, I'm going to win. And as I put in the chat, Roger Federer only won something like 54% of all points taken, and yet still was winning everything because the consistency. So if you tell yourself it's not going to work, it's not going to work. So tell a different story.
so powerful, right? And particularly if you are on your own, Like when you're with others, other people's mood can help lift you, other people's attitude, you can start to emulate it, but you're on your own. You've got the fridge, you've got the TV, you've got Bullhorn, right?
Mm.
Sometimes Bullhorn isn't the most attractive of those three things.
Brilliant.
So like the stories that we sell to ourselves is really important. Let me
Can I throw
yes, Liz.
I just want to throw a third sports person into the ring in terms of analogies. I love the Federer and the Ali, but I was watching an interview with a guy called Mohammed Mutalo, and he is a Taekwondo athlete. And the question to him was, how do you get ready for the big comps like the Commonwealth Games or the Olympics? And he just looked at him at the interviewer and he said, I don't get ready, I am ready. And it honestly sent shivers down my spine because I was like, oh my days, that is it, isn't it? You're always on the front foot, you're always ready. You're not just thinking, oh, it's 11 o'clock, it's BD, and I do that for an hour. It's just one of those things that really stuck with me, and I thought, oh, that's genius. I don't get ready, I am ready.
Yeah, they say that under greatest pressure, we don't up our game, we drop to the level of our training. And dropping to the level of our training is what we have practiced with consistency to become a standard operating system. It's like the comfort zone. So it's not what you learned in a book. It's not what you listened to on 72 podcasts. It's not what that $1 million biller said in a YouTube video. It's what you've been practicing with consistency. And we all own what we can choose to practice today. Even if yesterday wasn't a great practice day, today could be the beginning of a streak of practice.
Do you think that
do a streak?
Do you think that's part of the challenge of BD though? It's because you walk into a recruitment business and they know how to work a job. Oh, they've got a process for that. But when you go watch your BD process, they're like, well, we ring people, ask for jobs. Like part of it is having a process, having a menu, having purposes, having a list, like trying to see the way so you can lean back on it when it doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
Like you go to the gym and you turn up and you do the exercises, but then you can fall back on that as your baseline.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle to know what the baseline is. I think that's really hard for them sometimes.
It's fundamental, isn't it? If you don't have a plan, the only thing you're going to follow is your mood. And you're not often in the mood.
I don't fancy it.
I'm going to open the fridge.
Yeah.
There are those who are always in the mood for BD though, because they're ready. And it's that readiness that helps. Right, let's look at some non-negotiable things here. Liz, what do you feel might stop managers from giving consistent, constructive feedback to people in a team, particularly if performance and sales results aren't happening?
I think actually that's one thing I want put on my headstone is all for the want of a bit of timely feedback. So what tends to happen, they go from hero to zero, you recruit them, they're going to be the next best thing, they're going to, write loads of business. Then they don't perform and they don't perform and they don't perform and you go, well, got to get rid. And all for the want. So I don't know if this analogy works for you guys, but when NASA first sent a rocket to the moon, there was nobody at the moon going, yeah, left a bit, right a bit, straight on, yeah, you do. That's where feedback was coined. So the pinging from the lunar module back to NASA, and so I like to call feedback NASA nudges, just small, let's just nudge you back on track rather than watch you go miles off track. And then it's too late. So but for sales management, my 3 killer questions that I think every employee, regardless of what you're employed to do, wants to know is what's expected of me, how am I doing, where am I going?
Yeah.
So clear expectations, explicit. this is what we expect of you. And then those NASA nudges, that Stu, have you got a minute? I'd love to have a chat with you about how come you left the BD session early, or Laura, I'd love to have a chat with you about, it's just those. But I think, to answer your question, Jeremy, is that they hope it's going to cure itself, because then you don't have to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
You just think, oh, they're having an iffy week, they're having an off week, maybe they'll make up their numbers next week, or the week after, or maybe next month will be better, or maybe after Christmas.
The
And
longer
I think
that
it's
goes
all
on, the
for the
harder the
want of a bit
conversation
of
becomes.
timely feedback. I know. And you missed the moon. You
Great,
you missed the moon by a mile, all for the want of a little, have you got 5 minutes? Let's have a quick chat.
Yeah. And they all end up on Uranus.
I think that works with solos as well, is that for people sitting here going, but I don't manage anybody else. Definitely our life as a whole, the life we want, is the other side of those difficult conversations we're putting off. And yes, if this is about you having the conversation with the people in your team, like so often I'm just coaching people on how to have a difficult conversation and giving them a structure to that conversation. When you've got that structure, you can use it with everybody, your team, your partners, your kids, whatever. But if you're on your own, it's also having that conversation with yourself, or talking to other people within the team network, or having coaches or mentors who are going to point out, like put that mirror to your face to remind you that you've actually got no jobs on. So stop just writing content and go and do some BD. So our constant feedback to ourselves, sort of your KPIs, or how did I do today? What did I do well today? What should I have done that I didn't do? How have I spent my time? All of these open-ended questions that we should always ask with clients, but sort of you just say to yourself, do you have a good day? Yes, no. Okay, how was your day? What went well? Have a little check-in, do a bit of journaling, but don't put the feedback off, because what happens is that person keeps going in that direction and you pull them up on it over here. It's too late. You want to be feedback in the moment, not publicly criticizing. Please don't do that in offices, particularly if you have neurodiverse people in your office. Private feedback, done quickly, done positively and respectfully, but getting it done, as Liz said, don't wait for it. And also, don't just like sitting behind your keyboard typing and sending feedback to people. Go and talk to your people.
Can I just challenge that a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Praise in public.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah.
Come on, we're all
Feedback,
like peacocks, aren't we? We want the good stuff.
Feedback isn't always a dig. Yeah, we don't want to become taser managers.
Yeah.
Where a private word in a room and everyone, ooh, and they're banging the table. Oh, they're coming back. Oh,
yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. You've answered the question that I wanted to ask you. I'm still going to ask the question in case you want to add a bit more, because you were kind of riffing on what Liz had said. Particularly if someone's here now and they're listening to this and it's Friday and they're having that little chunter conversation with themselves about shoulda, woulda, coulda this week, and they're starting to realize, I just need to do it. It's so easy to say next week, because it's Friday and you've got Saturday and you've got Sunday. So you can sell to yourself the idea of being the beast on Monday. How does somebody hold that so that Monday they do what they keep on promising themselves every Friday, Michelle? You coach people with this kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah, the first thing is reminding yourself, particularly if you've been in the game for a long time, we can kind of forget why we're doing it. Or we think that, oh, well, when we started the business, we started it because we wanted these things, often money. And then, okay, now I've got my day-to-day money. Then it becomes about financial security. Now you may have that situation. And then you're like, well, now what? What? And this is your mojo. What's your why? What's your purpose? Then it may become legacy. But it's reminding yourself that you look at kind of the guy who started Salesforce. And the reason that he started it was he wanted to give a load of money back to charity. And he built sort of a business that was way bigger than anyone ever expected, because he had such a strong driver and that kept him going all the time. It's like reminding yourself, why is it that you are doing this? I'll tell you now, I've done my values exercise with over 5,000 recruiters. Money has never ever once come up as one of the core values.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants that values exercise, message me, I'll send it to you. Financial security, yes. Ambition, achievement, adventure. It's what the money brings for you. And people lose track of it. Oh, have a visual. I had a bar chart on my desk at Computer Futures. I needed 27 grand for the first deposit on my first flat. There's the bar chart. Every payday, marking it off. Get the deposit. Now what? Right, now I've got a mortgage. Same thing, bar chart. And I did that all the way up until the point when I needed to stop doing bar charts. I've got my home that I'm going to stay in hopefully forever. But what's the visual? Why are you doing it? How are you getting excited about it? Because otherwise you're just turning up every day going, like, not being funny, no one turns up because I might make 5 grand in comms. It's nice.
Yeah.
What's it for?
But also, like, one day doesn't feel like anything, but already you can go, a year goes so quick. But if you just measure it in one day of, oh, it's all right, I didn't do any BD today. It's all right, I didn't do any BD today. It's all right, I didn't do any BD today. Suddenly we'll be in March and you're 25% through the year and still like 1% towards getting to where you want to be in terms of consistency at pipeline.
Yeah, and I think people are at that already. What are we now? 22nd, 23rd, whatever of the month. And people already are at that point where they're like, oh, I kind of didn't start how I wanted. And whether that's about BD or fitness or whatever it is, that whole, I'll come back in January and I'll be ready. And you're just not doing anything. And yeah, Einstein said, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So today, coming to this session, whether you agree with the stuff we're saying or not, hopefully you at least go away with a little bit of a sort of spark to go, okay, I'm going to make some changes, go and listen to the recording again, make more notes, get the feedback, the stuff that Jahisha will send out. But it's like, don't just sit staring at your screen, and please don't just keep writing content about stuff that potentially may never get read when you could be proactively going out there, building your market and actually feeling like you're back in control. Because I think when we're not in control, that's a horrible place to be. So it's like, how do you take back some control to make sure that come next Christmas you're celebrating with a extra big Christmas pudding or whatever your Christmas treat of choice is?
Yeah. This morning, 5:30 a.m. there was 12 people at the gym. 2 weeks ago at this same time of day there was 47. 35 have bailed out already. I'm just looking at the other 11.
Yeah. And there is a point off the back of that. If you're sitting there and you're really struggling, attach yourself to the best recruiter that you know. Look within the team network. Who is that person who is just on fire? And attach yourself to them. What are they doing? It's like body doubling, not in like the movies, but like, okay, well, if Jeremy's doing this, like we do it within the supplier space. I'm like, oh, hang on, if Jeremy's doing that, I need to do more of that. So getting that motivation by the whole community of people you've got around you.
Yes.
Look, I just wanted to make, going back to the solo challenge, about having somebody who holds you to account. I haven't been to a conference yet because I'm still new, but I'm signed up for June. Why not I know, I'm so looking forward to it, but find someone there who could be an accountability partner for you. You work on your own, but they work on their own as well. So why not say, look, why don't we just have a quick check-in, like once a week? I remember the fittest time I ever was I had a friend that I used to meet and go running with, a bit like your gym thing, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I would never have got up at 6:30 in the morning unless I had to go meet Teresa, and she said the same about me. So, team, look at team. There's hundreds of solos out there.
Did you both end up resenting each other?
Honestly, it was the best time. On a Sunday we used to go out for a really long run, but I would never, but I don't like letting people down. She doesn't like letting people down. So if you offer to be someone's accountability partner because they're going through the same struggles as you, isn't that one of the byproducts of team itself?
You know that there is another option. There are some coaches in the room. You could
easy, Liz.
Pay.
I was going to say, I'll make a living out of shouting at solos. That's my living.
Why didn't I?
Shouting at solos.
Do more BD. I'll make a living out of that. Okay, when I'm on this morning, he said I've only updated this because I knew I was having a call with you. Like,
Exactly, right?
but that works.
Yeah,
So
Same
doesn't it?
that's
concept.
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
And you know, when you
yeah.
pay for it, you've now got skin in the game.
That's true.
When a friend holds you accountable, there's less skin in the game. I've just paid this amount of money for somebody to shout at me for not doing something.
Yep.
The
It's why
money is
people have,
not.
Pretty much my living. Yeah.
Yeah.
why people have personal trainers, isn't it? And I've said to my
Yeah.
clients before, I'm like,
Completely agree.
this is so great. You've done everything that we agreed. Why did you do that? And they went, basically exactly that. Well, I've paid you. I'd be mad if I was paying you and not doing it. So you're
It's
like,
true.
there you go.
Top biller in a company I used to work at was a top biller because he was always on a PIP.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And he asked to always be on a PIP.
Well, that's health, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Because when
Performing
he wasn't on a
management is
PIP,
constant. Yeah, yeah.
everyone here should
Wow.
have their own definition of their PIP.
I agree.
What are the things that I need to be holding myself accountable to? And if I can't do it, then I need to outsource the accountability. Right. I've got one more question for everyone. I'm going to start with you, Stu.
Oh,
It's Monday. I know it's Friday, but let's pretend it's Monday.
okay.
You've lost your Saturday and Sunday. It's gone.
Depressing.
So it's Monday already. My favorite day of the week. And you're having a meeting with everyone who is online together, and you are creating one BD rule for Q1 that everyone is going to be held accountable to. One rule to rule them all. Stu, what is the one rule?
There's a lot more context to it, but the one rule is that BD should happen in every single conversation you're having. I'd want to hear in the office that it's happening, right? So it should run through every call you make. We should be asking inquisitive business questions on every call, whether it's to a candidate, a senior candidate, hiring manager. There's so much BD that we miss out on. So we can sniff out movement. So it's constant. It's not stop start. BD is constant.
Nice. Like it. Liz?
Thanks. Cheers, mate.
You're welcome.
My one rule for Monday morning, which I adhere to without fail, is identify the thing that you least want to do and do it first. So I used to be very good at, I'll just do this first. I'll just do this and cherry pick and cherry pick. Get that worst call done or that worst activity done. We in time management call eat a toad for breakfast, because after that everything will taste great.
Yeah. Very good. Michelle.
Mine is look at your market. Who are your 5 key people? I used to call them who are your disciples? Who are they? Who are the people that are going to make a massive difference if you know them? So mine was the founders of the .NET user group. And how are you going to get meetings with those people? What are they going to want to talk about? Where are they? How do you get in front of them? Because it is like that sort of pyramid effect. You get those 5 key people, and that is then going to move from there. So give yourself a clear plan of where to start. Otherwise, you are just making loads of calls, and that's just luck as opposed to taking back control.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really good. Some good stuff here, people. So we're at 2 minutes past the hour of 2. We're done.
How
But
quick
we
did
could have
that
some
go?
questions. I know. If there are any questions that people have that they would like to chuck in any specific person's direction, do join in. If you need to leave, go on then.
Feel free to unmute and put your camera on. Let's get personal. And well, that's what a wonderful eclectic mix of advisors and coaches we had today, which is we've been working, Jeremy and Michelle, been working with team for some time, but Stu and Liz, you've added something very different, and it's why we welcomed you into the community, because your perspectives and your insights add something to what these wonderful other 2 guys have already contributed. So really good session. Thank you. And so the rest of you, if you want to fire a question to any of these wonderful people, get going now. It's cool.
Well said, Michelle. So Carolyn says, how do you know if your industry is just not enough demand? So if people are okay, I'll take that. But then there's also, how do you set your KPIs when companies have no numbers to call? So maybe Stu, you seem to favor the phone and help people to find phone numbers. Maybe take that.
Okay.
And how do you call when most of the clients work from home? Well, we'll come to that too. But my thoughts, first of all, Carolyn, on what you've said. How do you know if your industry has enough demand? I look at the landscape of a sector and consider that there is a visible market and an invisible market. The visible market is the job adverts. So if you look at today's job adverts in the sector that is the sector that you target, and then you multiply the number of job adverts by 5, that's how many hidden jobs there is. Go chase the hidden ones. Don't chase the visible ones. They followed a path to decide to go and do that thing. The hidden ones, those people tend to change jobs behind closed doors. So it may be that somebody in the team says, oh, there's this guy I used to work with. So because it tends to happen through internal recommendations, it also becomes the same way that Michelle was developing business, because somebody says, I know of a recruiter. In fact, I've been to 3 of their events. I feel we should talk to that person. So I would start to decide, is the market viable, by looking at how many advertised jobs are there, multiply it by 5, that's how many invisible jobs there is at exactly the same moment, add the 2 together. And if multiplying that by 1% gives you enough placements, go make money. If multiplying it by 1% gives you too many placements, tighten it. Because you'll try to spread yourself too thinly over too many businesses, and you'll skate across a transactional process rather than a deeper dive into some relationships.
One thing I'd add, the Sunnies tool, which is a new partner to us, searches the internet for jobs that are advertised by companies only, not recruiters. So we used it at Principal People for a couple of years, and I would think with the team of 35 plus, we were getting 5 extra jobs a month, 60 jobs a year on jobs we didn't even know exist, and they were directly with the company, not fighting over other recruitment businesses. So have a look at Sunnies if you can. It's helpful for that.
And Stu, do you have thoughts on finding numbers for those that are probably working from home? Any tips?
I think when it comes to KPIs, or certainly there are some sectors that I work in where it is really hard to find numbers for people. I then fall back on like a system of touch pointing. So yes, I love switchboards, unless I'm a bit old school and I love going through a switchboard, and there's a lot of skill in that call and not always getting through, but getting information. There's a lot around that, and almost identifying the hiring managers, slowly creeping up on all that information you want as you build it over time. But also when it comes to the touch points of simply the amount of time I've been through BD content with a consultant, and they've not even sent a connection to some of the hiring managers on LinkedIn, and they've not even tried touch pointing that person to try and get a number. Like, I love a work email because you get a bounce back sometimes with a mobile number on. Like, there's little things like that to just try and like sneak a number and be a bit cheeky. I think sometimes it can be a bit quick. I'm going to try and speak to this person. Oh, it didn't work. Next. So that's when I fall back on touch pointing. I'm like, okay, have we covered all these touch points first before we move on? Let's have the intent of wanting to speak to them rather than just doing it. So yeah, it is a challenge though.
I think if you're unlucky enough to have your mobile number in Lusher, you're going to get pounded.
Oh yeah.
I think people stop. If it's not on Lusher, then it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Those are the ones.
Yeah. See that a lot.
Right. Sorry, am I still being mother?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, please, Dad.
I think you are. Yeah.
Love the practical example of telling stories using the flywheel. Any more practical examples of flywheels, people? So I think you could flywheel a job.
Yeah.
Fill the job, turn it into a flywheel, go find 10 other companies.
But you can flywheel BD, can't you, Jeremy? Like sponsorship.
Flywheel. Totally.
Like, how many times do we know somebody and we don't leverage it? So
Yes.
we're trying to do really hard BD, but we actually know somebody in the organization, but we won't leverage that relationship to either move up the chain or down the chain.
and sometimes out of it too.
Yeah, but we don't. We're just like, oh, I'll start again. Right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that
Michelle.
feels about just sort of, really starting to think smart. And instead of it just being bashing the phones the 100
That's the
dials
key,
a
yeah.
day, it's like, right, where am I? Who does this person know? Who are they connected to?
Yeah.
That's more interesting, isn't it? When you're starting to kind of have the challenge of joining the dots of different things. So yeah, like you're
And we
still
don't ask though,
so
Michelle.
much time, aren't you?
Yeah.
We're guilty of not asking. So
Oh,
I've just filled a job with a client. Ring the hiring manager and ask other people he knows. Like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying I'm a business and this is my business and I'm quite good at it? Look, so who else shall I speak to? What's the harm in it? But we almost feel cheeky or like, give it a go. What's the harm?
No, it feels like cheating sometimes. I've got to do BD the
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
way.
yeah.
I'm not going to do easy BD because that's like just wrong. I'll do really hard BD.
I'll blast the phone. Yeah.
So if a client calls me to say, can I pass you this referral? No,
No.
I do not want that. I'm going to try and track them down. Do not tell me their name. I'm going to phone 200 people and see if it's one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, I'll take the referral. So we'll just go get them. And even in your family, when I got a job at Spring, I went to Spring Technology to become head of training. And I moved from a finance recruitment agency to a technology recruitment agency. So the first thing that I did was I messaged everyone who I knew to say, I'm now joining a technology recruitment business. Please stop sending me leads that are finance jobs. But if you ever get the heads up that somebody needs a tech person, let me know. And I wasn't even joining as a salesperson. And I got 3 jobs on in my first week, and I worked in training because I just told people in my family who worked for other companies, hey, I now work in a company that recruits IT people. My family got me the jobs.
Okay.
Uncle Nigel gave me a job at
My Uncle
HSBC.
Nigel.
Right? BDing Uncle Nigel is not normally on somebody's list, right?
That's true.
is his number on his LinkedIn? Everyone's
He's
going to
not.
quick.
He's not even on
Add it to
LinkedIn.
your
Not on
CRM.
Lusher.
He's
It's
not
not
even
Lusher.
on
Along with your
LinkedIn.
mum, Michelle.
Exactly.
BD is always on at the barbecue. BD. I headhunted a candidate and placed them into a job and made a 22 grand fee, and I headhunted them at a urinal. Right? There is always an
Unexpected.
opportunity to make money.
I
It was
got
very
three.
unexpected
I
for
got
both of
3
us.
new clients on my Christmas holiday. Just we were on holiday and you're chatting about like, sort of life challenges. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, look, 3 new clients. So yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Permission to take the any tips on flipping candidates.
Yeah, go.
I don't like it. I don't like trying to do too much on a call. I think we're sometimes guilty of it. So we ring a senior candidate, we get talking, and then we flip it. And I've heard senior consultants on sales floors advising juniors to do this. And I actually advise against it. It may or may not be popular opinion, but I'm like, please just make the call authentic. Please don't ruin the end of the call where it gets all icky. When you go, oh, I won't be doing my job if I didn't ask you if you've got any jobs. Like I'd much rather try not to do too much on that call and then separate it and call them back with value at a later date. And then maybe let that move the relationship a little bit differently. I'm just not a big fan of the flipping at the end of the call personally.
I'm the opposite. I love a good flip.
Oh, it's good when it happens if they do it.
But I wouldn't call it a flip. That's the problem, because then it
Okay.
turns into a judo throw. No one wants to get judo throwed on a call. So I like to tell people at the beginning, I'm sure that at some point we'll get to work together. I onboard a human who has a job. I don't onboard a candidate to turn them into a client. And I don't onboard a client to turn them into a candidate. I engage with a human being and explain at some point, I'm sure we'll get to work together, whether that's I help you to find a job or I help you to build a team. And I'm sure as our relationship progresses, we'll be talking about both things at random times that neither of us expected. And then I'll look after them as a candidate, but I'm looking after them as a person. And
So
if I
much
look
less
after them as a
transactional,
candidate, yeah, exactly. I look after them as a person, they look after me as a person.
Yeah.
I try and change the nouns that I use to describe them, candidate,
Yeah, love
client,
it.
tosspot. Then they'll do the same with me. And we don't like being nouns. We have pronouns, and we have a name, right? Anyway, sorry. I'm anti-flip. I'm totally
Yes.
into making the maximum money I
You
can
pre-flip.
possible.
You don't flip. You pre. Yeah,
I
yeah. That's right though.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't make it transactional. It's so much nicer. And pretty much every recruitment director I know has built a business from senior candidate relationships that have turned over years and years that turn into business. And then all of a sudden they're
Yes.
trying to do too much all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I bat left-handed and right-handed.
Okay.
Right. On that note,
Sorry.
Is that a wrap?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've got a call in 1 minute. Yeah, I've got. It's got to be a wrap. I've got a
He's-
mental call now.
yeah.
He's got BD. Good
This
boy.
is
Sorry.
soundbite.
It's-
Always be closing.
I've
Well,
enjoyed
thank
it.
you.
I
It's
have
been
enjoyed
fun.
Thanks, guys.
I think everyone's enjoyed it, which is absolutely fab. Thank you. Thank you, panel. Thank you for attendees. What a great session.
Very
Let's
good.
let's smash 2026.
Mm.
Have a great weekend, all. Thank you
too.
very
Thanks a lot,
much.
guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
you.
Bye
weekend.
now.
Thanks
Deal.
for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.